Well, guys, I'm sliding down that slippery slope of need more bass. Yeah, I want some more bass. Technically, I don't need more bass. I'm already beyond reference level for movies. I'm firmly in, comfortably in reference level for THX movies. But I want more. I love that chest pounding thump from effects for movies. Music, dude, doesn't take much. Just takes a nice level coverage and music sounds great. For movies, really you can't have too much. I mean, it's all a visceral experience. I love it. A lot of people love it. So I'm still working towards it. I've got the sub back out from where I had it in the corner here for two very important reasons. Now, originally, I did the sub crawl when I first set up the system, and I found right there is actually a really good response for levels. It's covering the range that I need. I can't tell you how even it is and where the dips and peaks are because I've never measured it. And that's because I only have one microphone that's accurate enough to do such measurements using software like REW. However, it's the Yamaha mic. And there's no calibration file out for the Yamaha mics because the Yamaha receivers are the only thing that is supposed to be used with those Yamaha mics. So they don't release that data. It's internal. You plug the microphone into the receiver has that calibration information and it uses it. But you can't use it yourself. So it's not a reliable tool. So I bit the bullet. I went and ordered a mini DSP calibration microphone. This has a calibration file. It's specifically to be used to measure your room and your speakers and anything else you want to do. So that was about $100, well worth it in my opinion because it allows you to tune for everything. Now here's the thing. When you use a good receiver and it has room correction software, be it Yamaha, Denon, Onkyo, whatever, usually the speakers, no problem. It'll calibrate those, it will set the delays and the phase, and most importantly, the EQ for each speaker to give you a nice flat response. Most of them, however, do not EQ the sub channel. All they typically set is the level and the delay and sometimes the phase. No EQ. So whatever the response of the sub is in that room, it's what it is. And if you do end up wanting or needing to EQ your sub, you typically have to plug in a third-party tool in line just to EQ that signal. It's not a great solution and it's fairly expensive. Those DSP EQ modules can be as much as a sub. Luckily, this does have a little bit of EQ. It has a 2-band parametric EQ on the sub channel. The speaker channels, I want to say it has a 4-band, might be a 3 though. It's a little bit more, but it does give you some basic EQ. So it does apply that automatically. And looking at the results, when I run the room EQ through the receiver, it's correcting for just a couple little peaks in this position here and just about the same thing back in here. Now, I went back in here because it really amplifies the effect of the sub. For two reasons. One, it's in a physical corner. It works with the room to boost the output. When you can put a sub in a corner, you get a natural, dramatic increase in sound output. It just works that way with the sound waves. The other big thing was it's what's called near field. When I'm sitting here on the couch, it's just a few feet away. So again, it's like if you have headphones on, they sound great when you're on your head, but the further away you get, they get distant. Same thing with subs. So the sub being here at the same level sounds a lot more powerful than up front. It's just basic physics. Two major problems that I ran into. The first problem was localization. In general, bass waves are omnidirectional. That means your ear can't tell where it's coming from. And the very low end, that was certainly true. Sitting here, music's coming from the front, movie is coming from the front, etc., etc. When the subwoofer was playing the bass that's supposed to be coming out of the front, it sounded like, it's coming out of the front because the bass is everywhere equally. However, the very upper registers in the 70s, 70 to 88, I had my crossover set at 80, you could hear it. So you're sitting here on the couch and, you're watching your movie and all of a sudden, some deep voice or some type of explosion, etc. comes on, and you're like, hey, wait a minute, why is that sound coming from right down there in the corner? It completely breaks the illusion and the soundstage. So localization sucks. The solution for that, if that was my only choice, would be to lower the crossover below the point at which the sound would do that. But I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to lower my crossover to 70 or 60 and really lose out on that. These, I mean, they're great main speakers, but they're not supposed to be playing sub bass. And I just didn't want to do that, especially for the center, because that I actually had crossed over barely at 80. The system measured and it really wanted it at 90, but just to my ear, 80 sounded better. And I had the rears also at 80. So I couldn't drop that down because I would have a hole between, if I had these at 90 and I had the center at 90, and I dropped the sub to 70, I wouldn't have anything except what was coming out of the left and right channels between 70 and 90. So that was out. So localization, that was an absolute deal killer. Back to the front it went, where it's not a near field, you have no localization. And even if there was any, it's coming from the front. So it completely blends in. But here is the real problem. This wall, this is a shared wall. There's a bedroom and hallway on the other side. It's non-load bearing. It's just an interior wall. It's pretty cheap. Now, I love this house, but it's not top quality construction. This thing rattles like a mofo. I mean, the wall. I don't mean the stuff on the wall. These don't make a sound. These I've got bracketed in and supported on the bottom. They're floating with rubber isolation feet. None of this you can hear. And there's nothing touching the wall on the other side, nothing hanging on the wall. It's the wall. The drywall itself is not like really secure to the studs. You can hear Romex and networking cable and all the other stuff they've got in there vibrating around. I can put my ear to it and I can hear everything in the wall. The studs themselves move. I can flex this whole wall and it creaks and pops. I don't know if you can hear it, but I hear stuff rattling up in here. Hear all that? I'm just gently pressing on the wall. You can hear all the screws. I can see it. I mean, the whole wall is just doing this, right? It's not a secure wall and it's not great for home theater. Now with the sub up front, no problem. None of that rattles or moves or anything, but with it right in the corner and it's energizing this whole wall, inches from it, forget about it. You cannot control what that wall does. And it's a major problem with movies with extremely low bass. This thing just becomes a resonance board and there's all kinds of noises and it just totally ruins a movie. So back to the front I go. So, okay, now I'm back to my original problem of I love the way the sound comes from the front. It's just not enough. I want more. Okay, fine. Well, obvious answer is get a bigger sub. Looked into the PB Ultra, the great 16-inch from SVS. I looked at the Monoprice THX 15. Excellent performance also, top-notch reviews. Both of those really choice subs. Both of those completely non-starters. Wife acceptance factor of 0.0. They are beasts. We're talking almost 4 feet by 3 feet footprints. That means I wouldn't be able to walk into my living room. The sub would come out to here, which means I would have about 2.5 feet to walk through the main hallway. Not gonna happen. This is okay. It's not coming out past the speaker. I've got plenty of walk room. I can't eat this up. It's all we have. So both of those were completely out the window. Okay, let's think about dual subs. Obviously, I can get another sub, and it ideally would be the same sub with the exact same response, but it doesn't have to be. But my only second spot would be back here, and we already know that doesn't work. Now, the advantage of putting 2 subs in a room or more in different locations is that different seats will have better sub coverage. When I'm talking about the coverage in my room is great with the sub up front, I'm talking about in really one seat, but right around here, where I sit for movies. I'm really the only one that cares. I'm really the only one that cares about movies, or at least enough to spend money on it. I sit here, I love that spot, everything's set up for me, A-okay. The wife watches TV shows on Hulu, doesn't give a crap. She doesn't even notice if I have a sub plugged in or not. That's the fact. When we watch movies, she usually sits over in one of the side recliners. She doesn't give a crap about the sound. She just wants to watch the movie, right? She's not an enthusiast. That's totally fine. I am. So when I'm talking about all of this, I'm talking about it in one particular seat. If I was concerned about the other seats, then I would be more concerned about multiple subs in different places to get a more even coverage, because over in that chair, for example, having the sub up front, the bass sucks. That is a null point, and there's virtually no bass over there. It's just a complete suck out. It's the way the room works. Move over just a few feet to this seat here. Excellent day and night. So if I had multiple subs, I would place one somewhere else to get good bass over there. That's the advantage of multi-subs in multiple locations. But that wasn't my issue. Thought, okay, since I just want more, I can use something called bass coupling. And I learned about this actually years ago from one of my DJ friends. What he would do, he owns a huge operation here in Lakeland, Florida, and they do dances and events and concert gigs and all that kind of stuff. And what they'll do if they have a large open room is couple their subwoofers. They set them side by side, directly side by side. And what that does is sonically couples the sound waves. It gives you a free boost in power, 1.5 times as much volume, just by placing 2 of the same subs next to each other, EQ'd the same, leveled the same, etc. It's kind of like just having a bigger sub. Now, contrary to popular belief, it doesn't double your output. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately, but it is a huge boost. So I found a guy locally selling a used PB12NSD, my exact sub. They're kind of hard to find. It's an older design. This is one of their originals. It's a 7-year-old design, but they've been selling them new up until just a few months ago. For the past 3 years, they've blown out their supply on Black Fridays for $500, and that's how I got mine. I know that's how he got his. Well, he's asking $400 for it, but it's also got some damage. He's got a big old nick in the cabinet. So tried to talk him down, but he was kind of firm. Okay, still at $400 for what I'm looking for, I'm still willing to pay it, even with the damage. I can repair some wood, no big deal. I was supposed to go meet him, and he just messaged me at the last second as I'm walking out the door. I got an emergency. I'll get back with you next week. All right, dude, you just lost a sale, because he was already hemming and hawing and going back and forth just to get a freaking address out of him. I guess you don't really want to sell it. And it's been up there for a couple months. Same price, not moving. So no one's actually buying it from him. Anyway, my thought was stack them. It doesn't matter if you put them side by side or vertically. They still bass couple. I think it would have been a good solution. I wouldn't have even needed another transmitter because I could just Y-split it. I wouldn't have even needed to add isolation feet because it would have stacked completely vertically, since these feet don't extend past the side of the sub. So literally for $400, I could have gotten 1.5 times the output. That seemed like a great deal, but that's out the window. There are none available in my area. I see one up on eBay, and with shipping, it would be a couple $100 more than I bought this for new. Not gonna happen. So I can't do the huge monsters. I can't easily get another one of these, but I can get just under the monster. Hello, PB4000. Just ordered one. 1,200 watts. All the bass I'm ever gonna need in this room for sure. And most importantly, a built-in DSP parametric EQ. Also, app controlled. Now I'll be able to hook up my microphone and REW software, be running it to graph and real-time measure the room response, and sit here, control everything and adjust everything and set the EQ from my phone or tablet while doing measurements to dial it in absolutely perfectly. Even though I have minuscule control through the receiver, it doesn't even remotely compare to a good DSP EQ. And now I'm going to be able to get not only the volume that I need, and I know more than the volume I need or even want, a great response. Should be here in a couple days. I'm very excited. I'll take you through the results. I'll measure this one and I'll show you what it does. We'll compare it and we'll see maybe if you have this or something like it, if you would want to upgrade. Let's see.